now. Happy Monday. Good morning, PASW staff, clients, and friends. Join us, Film Scoring Monday. We're going to look at a big, epic movie today. I actually did watch this, even though, just to do research for you guys. I don't just throw out movies. But also, I'm telling you, you don't have to watch this. This is a 4-hour movie. It's a really long, long movie. There's some nice scenes in it. Personally, I don't know. I liked about a half hour out of the 4 hours, but nobody asked my opinion. But it's a really important movie. Great film score, and we're going to look at a composer that we've talked about again. But today we'll look at the 4-hour epic film by Sergio Leone, his last, Once Upon a Time in America. This stars Robert De Niro. We looked at De Niro with Deer Hunter, and he's one of the best actors of all time. And we know Sergio Leone, Italian director, and this is part of his trilogy. This is the last part of his trilogy. This is the final film. This comes out in 1984. This is the final film before he dies. He dies 5 years later after this, but and he had kind of retired. So this was his last movie in the last 13 years. He had retired and then came back to do one last epic film, and there are some beautiful, amazing performances and scenes in this movie. And so he had a trilogy, because this goes back to Once Upon a Time trilogy. This goes back to Once Upon a Time in the West. And then Duck You Sucker was 1971, and then this one completes the trilogy. So I'm trying to think. I think part of the reason Leone wanted to do this was because he didn't direct The Godfather. He was offered to direct the huge Godfather movie before Coppola did that, 1972, and so he deeply regretted it. I think so. This was his chance to maybe make an American gangster film to make up for that. So. And he used a lot of Godfather techniques, even though it was 10 years prior, like flashbacks and stuff. This movie's got a lot of flashbacks. It takes place in 3 different time periods. So the budget was $30 million for this, but it makes like $5.5 million. It wasn't distributed and marketed well. It should have definitely won Best Score by Ennio Morricone, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But because of a technicality, it wasn't able to get Best Score because of the opening credit didn't include Ennio's name, so it wasn't. And you can't re-edit something. This is so stupid. There's that famous scene in Godfather where that fake punch, and everybody sees it, everyone knows it, and the reason why they didn't take it out is because once it's considered for an Academy Award, you can't edit one single thing in it. So you can't go back and take it out. So once it's in the running, you can't mess with it. Stupid rule. The Academy Awards are kind of so stupid, right? But okay, so that's it. So it comes out in 1984. 84, we don't have epic gangster movies. We are more into the teen adventure movies, right? This is also the year PG-13 rating comes out that we looked at a few weeks ago. We looked at Karate Kid. This comes out in 1984, that famous scene with Daniel LaRusso. Ghostbusters comes out. The Terminator comes out. So, these are epic blockbuster teenage adventure movies that are really going to get the kids to the theater. They're not going to go see a 4-hour movie about American, about gangsters. Amadeus also comes out. So, but that's in a whole different league. That's not for kids. That's an adult movie, and we looked at that. Music-wise, the pop singers, the big songs of 1984, I Just Called to Say I Love You, Stevie Wonder, and then Tina Turner, What's Love Got to Do with It? Those are the 2 big songs of that year. I do the year because of context, right? So the plot is it's simple, but just briefly, based on Harry Gray's novel. He wrote this book called The Hoods. So De Niro's the main guy. His name's Noodles. Nickname is Noodles. And he and his friend Max, they lead this. They kind of get this Jewish gang together in New York City, and it starts kind of with prohibition and organized crime. So it's kind of their rising up as this Jewish gang in New York City in the 1920s, and a lot of themes of, you know, friendship, you know, betrayal, kind of things like the Godfather talks about. Although The Godfather's family oriented, that's the big difference between these movies. Godfather's really about decisions, making decisions, living with decisions, but also all under the rank of a family, all under these are more friends, you know, this isn't really so family oriented. And like I said, scored by the great Ennio Morricone. Now we did The Mission, so we've done a few of his movies that, actually, yeah, De Niro's in that too, now that I think about that, where he travels up the mountain and then kind of breaks down. And then we also did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, one of the most famous soundtracks that just happened to work so well with the spaghetti western. Different than Dances with Wolves, right? It's interesting that just because there's genres, there's subgenres. Spaghetti western's way different than Dances with Wolves, even though they're both kind of westerns. Shows you can have, and what makes it different? Well, the acting, story, but many times the soundtrack makes it different. John Barry's score doesn't sound anything like Ennio Morricone's score. They're both probably the most famous composers of all time, but the score shapes the tone of the movie a lot of times. It tells you, without saying it, this is the kind of movie we're making. You know, you have, like we've looked at one scene, and depending on what music you put, it tells the audience, oh, this is a serious movie, oh, this is just slapstick comedy, without saying anything. That's the power of music. That's what I'm trying to show you in these things. When you take out the music, you have power, almost more power than the director and the writer, to set the tone of, oh, this is what the filmmaker wants us to feel. This is a sad scene. Oh, the sad music. Okay, yes. This is a scene that could be sad, but funny, joking, you know, banana peel music. Now we're going to laugh at the same exact scene. So the psychology is, you know, different. So Ennio, over 400 film scores. You know, Cinema Paradiso is one of my favorite. We'll probably look at that too. And then I did that interview with my brother like a year or two ago, because he's an Ennio expert on his music. So yeah, I mean, the film took so long to make that Morricone had finished the score before the movie was like halfway shot. I mean, this was a huge movie. Composers work much faster because there's less you have to, you know, I mean, you have a big job. But I was reading when Stravinsky came to Hollywood, he had a meeting with this producer, and he talked about this movie that he wanted Stravinsky to score. And so a few weeks later, Stravinsky came back with the full score, and the producer said, well, we haven't even started shooting. So composers work at a different pace, just like this. Morricone already finished. And so they actually used a lot of his music on the set to set the tone for the actors. This is very common if you have the soundtrack there. So the scene we're going to look at is one of the most beautiful themes, musical themes in the movie. So this is 1918. So like I said, 3 different time periods. It's about De Niro, you know, his rising, and then he reflects on it and takes you through all these different stages, mostly all around Noodles, De Niro's role. And so they're just street kids in this scene. And this is the start of Prohibition. And this is Lower East Side, Manhattan. And so I want to show you the scene without the music first. It's just, you're just going to see the young Jennifer Connelly. She's 12 years old in this. She would go on to become a huge famous actor. And I want to just show you the scene and just see perhaps what it could be, and then we'll watch the scene with the score. So what do we see? We see a girl walking. We see the long shot that establishes all the neighborhood. You see the Orthodox, Jewish Orthodox. You see the culture of the town. You see the town, the city, what it looks like at that in 1918, what Manhattan looks like. You see immigrants. You see that one long shot shows you, oh, we're in this kind of movie. I'm breaking down aspects of filmmaking for you guys too, just so you're more aware of things. And we also see Noodles as a boy, 11, 12 years old. He loves this girl. He's in love with her. He kind of spies on her in other scenes in the movie, but in this one, he's following her. So it's just this girl walking. You see Manhattan. You see 1918. You're seeing a lot of stuff. So I wonder what music could be under here. So it's a romantic scene because he's following her, of course. But it's what do you think? I mean, let's just watch the scene with the beautiful score by Morricone. That's called Deborah's theme. It's one of the most beautiful themes in the movie. Actually was rejected. Morricone wrote it for something else in the 70s, and I think it was Zeffirelli, the great director, that didn't like that theme. So he kept it, used it for this, and one of the best themes in the movie. So quickly, just because we've advanced so much, I mean, just visually, let's just look at the sheet music to this. We'll just take the first 8 bars. It's an E major. Look at the bass. It's kind of a pedal. Pedal means you're just sustaining it the whole time. Very lush orchestration with the strings. So you have an E major. You have the pedal. The root is E. So E, that's not a pedal. Usually pedal is the 5th. When it goes to 4 chord, it goes to an A6 chord. But he's not going to an A in the bass. He's staying with that pedal. That's going to be a nice little way to build the score. And the bass doesn't change until he goes to the D6 chord right there. Nice chord. But then he goes down a step to C sharp. Very nice progression. There, and then he's going to just go to a few jazz chords. He's going to go to F sharp minor, then to G sharp minor, then to C sharp minor, up a 4th to F sharp minor, down a 5th to the dominant, to the 5 chord, because 5 always leads us back to 1. So you see how he's getting from the 5 chord, the B, back to 1. So it's just a simple progression, but we have a beautiful melody over it. So just kind of wanted to show you musically what was going on. So come up with something that could sound like this score. And just because I'm kind of unfair sometimes. I don't want to use the Godfather music, so don't use any Nino Rota Godfather music. Maybe other Nino Rota would be okay, but let's just not, because the movies, even though the movie's not like the Godfather at all, it has a similar quality, the epic, American story, gangster story. But let's not use the Godfather score. So find something else that could be in place of Morricone's beautiful score. You'll do a great job. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. And then we're going to make it a great week. We're going to have a great week. Tomorrow, we're going to look at a composer, Vivaldi, and then Wednesday, we're going to do a huge advanced class on chord progressions, which I'm really nervous about. And that's what I'm going to go study. I'm going to research for you guys that class right now after this. I've been researching for weeks, actually, for this Wednesday. So Wednesday is going to be a very special class. So we'll have just a fun week, but pay attention to this class today. Think about it, work on some stuff, get it to me by, Tuesday would be good, tomorrow. and then we'll see it on Wednesday, you know. It'll be a great week. So thanks for watching. Love you, and see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.